Usyk said, Usyk has a fight coming up, and he said, when I'm done, I want to fight Alex Pereira. That sounds like a call out to me. Am I using too strong a language? I'm not sure I'm making this piece for you if Pereira called out Usyk. It's not the same. It would have been weird, and we've seen it 20 times. And it's the road to nowhere. This is different. Usyk did the calling out, and he seemed quite sincere. I mean, he laid out the plan for what it would take. He laid out the plan that I got my hands full and I got this guy, but I would like to go into Pereira after that. I think he even said that might be his retirement fight. I think Usyk is serious.
Bem-vindos ao canal Clips MMA. Alex Poatan Pereira versus Olexandr Usyk já é uma realidade, depois que o próprio Usyk revelou o desejo de fazer uma super luta contra o brasileiro. Pois bem, Chael Sonnen ficou doido com essa possibilidade e falou sobre isso. Vamos conferir, já se inscrevam aí no canal e bora!
Usyk said, Usyk has a fight coming up, and he said, when I'm done, I want to fight Alex Pereira. That sounds like a call out to me. Am I using too strong a language? The reason I'm hesitant to call it a call out is generally based around some type of an emotion. And that emotion could be as simple as greed. You have something that guy wants. It could be personal. The guy said something, the guy did something. That would be a motivation and an emotion. My understanding is that Usyk was paying tribute to Pereira. That's how I interpreted it. And Usyk comes across as such a gentleman. He really does. He represents his country. He represents the sport. He defends that title against the right people. He pays respect to his wife. I don't believe that he could be upset with Alex Pereira. Everybody seems to like Alex Pereira. But I never discuss these MMA fighter versus boxers, and nor should I. In the history of our sport, we've seen it twice. Randy Couture fought James Toney. We did that over in MMA. Conor fought Floyd over in boxing. I know you could bring one or two others in, but you know, if it wasn't sustainable, if it didn't make a night of business, I don't think that you should bring the other ones in. So I never really discussed it, even when we had Francis versus Fury. That turned out to be something very special. I fully admit that. But if we're looking at the idea of sustainability and profitability, no, it bombed. It was that was charity. Those guys that were bragging how much they made, they didn't make anything. They were given something. They don't understand the difference, but there is a difference. If somebody loses because you did not generate the money that you were paid, you were given charity. Now, I'm only bringing that to you to emphasize that I just stay away from this topic. It's the road to nowhere. This is very different. This is very, very different. Alex Pereira has a relationship with the folks in the Middle East. Usyk is partners with the folks in the Middle East. Dana White generally would not have anything to do with this. But most people don't ask Dana nicely. Most people think the right way to get Dana's attention is to come out and to insult him. Those people end up with nothing every single time. This feels different. Not to mention, it's not our guy, meaning MMA, calling out a top boxer. Like, I'm not sure I'm making this piece for you if Pereira called out Usyk. It's not the same. It would have been weird, and we've seen it 20 times. And it's the road to nowhere. This is different. Usyk did the calling out, and he seemed quite sincere. I mean, he laid out the plan for what it would take. He laid out the plan that I got my hands full and I got this guy, but I would like to go into Pereira after that. I think he even said that might be his retirement fight. I think Usyk is serious. And Francis and Fury, if you follow the story correctly, was a disaster from a financial standpoint. However, if the world knew it was going to turn into such a treat and such a magnificent, unexpected sporting competition, they would have done great numbers. They could have sold out arenas. They could have come to North America and done a whole house. They could have done a normal pay-per-view time of 7 o'clock and 10 in the East. And they could have really moved the needle. None of those things were true. They fought on a Saturday, and it was like at 11 a.m. And it was just one of these things that if you look at it, you're going to think, hey, that idea doesn't work. Well, it can work, but it's got to be done right. Like Floyd Connor was right. It just was. And there was one opportunity. Even when they were done, as much as they wanted a rematch, there was one opportunity, and they took it. And I'm not going to predict for you. I'm not quite going as far as to say that you're going to get Usyk and Pereira, but I would like you guys to engage with me. What do you think of that? Would you be interested in Usyk Pereira? I want you to start with that. After you give me, would you be interested? Then we can go into how do you think the match would go? How do you see that playing out? How big would Pereira need to get? What kind of training camp? Like, all that stuff is good stuff, but none of it works until we establish, are you interested in that fight? And Mike Tyson showed us for over a decade, squash matches, if done correctly, can make a lot of money, right? It's not a matter of you go, Pereira has no chance and he'd be out of there in 2 rounds. Oh, okay, but is 2 rounds worth your $50? I'm just curious, would you get a party together? And by the way, if Pereira did not gain any weight, none. What he walks around now, that 230 number, that 233, if he just weighed that against Usyk, they're basically the same size. Make sure you take that into consideration. What does Usyk go, guys, off the top of my head, but 240? In the 240s? That's a very interesting match. And it's not as though any of us could imagine Pereira's going to say no. And don't forget, when Pereira gets done with Ankalaev, his career is going to be different. And it doesn't matter if he wins or loses. If he wins, he is cleaned out light heavyweight. You don't have the faintest idea who the next #1 contender is. If Pereira wins, he's going to be looking for something else to do. And if Pereira loses, he's gone. I feel like many of you have forgot how Pereira got to 205 pounds. He did not get to 205 by cleaning out 185. He got to 205 by losing at 185. That's what opened the door. No belt, no vacate. Move right up. So no matter what happens after Ankalaev, things are going to be very different for Pereira. I predict he's moving up. And the ticking time bomb of John Jones and Tom Aspinall carrying this on and dragging this out. That time bomb reaches midnight. As soon as Pereira is done with his piece of business with Ankalaev, win or lose. Keep that in mind. Do you want to see Pereira fight Usyk?